All right, the battle for the future of the Democratic Party is playing out in real time. You got a moderate Democrat, David Crowley, narrowly beats DSA-backed Francesca Hong in Wisconsin. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, progressive Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan wins the Democratic Senate primary over the establishment candidate. Now the big test for the socialist surge, who will be Florida next week, when you got Congressman Jared Moskowitz against DSA-backed opponent Oliver Larkin, who's denying accusations of anti-Semitism, while the co-chair of the DSA struggles to answer basic questions on how to, quote, free Palestine.
What, in fact, is the position of DSA?
Yeah, so our position is a free Palestine with the capital in Jerusalem. And so I think that could be safely read as a one-state solution. So the Camp David accords that were being negotiated at the beginning of the century under the Clinton administration, had the Palestinians accepted it, that would have satisfied you? Good question. I need to look at what the actual specifics there were. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Yeah, she's a treat. Let's bring in Ben Shapiro, host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Ben, this interview is the biggest train wreck ever, and she does not even realize it, how bad what she's saying. And she said October 8th, would you be there protesting after the October 7th attacks in New York City with Dolores Chevalier, who won this? And she said, yeah, I would have been there. Why? Because they're in an open-air prison in Gaza. They had no choice to kill 1,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, the DSA is an anti-American, anti-Western organization. That is what they are at their essence. Their basic argument is that capitalism itself is what drives imperialism and colonialism and racism and settler colonialism and all the buzzwords that they learned at their Columbia undergrad classes or NYU undergrad classes. And the Democratic Party is ingesting this stuff wholesale. The only question for the Democratic Party is, are they fully willing to go all the way DSA, or just sort of pretend DSA? Progressives who aren't quite openly DSA mostly agree with the DSA, but just don't say the quiet part out loud. The sin of Francesca Hong in Wisconsin is that she was saying all the quiet parts out loud, and also she has the Judge Doom eyes, right? I mean, she was a very weird candidate. She had strange affect, and so many mainstream Democrats and Bernie didn't endorse her. But I think people are taking the wrong message from what happened in Wisconsin last night. The reality is that if Bernie had endorsed Francesca Hong, she'd be the nominee right now.
No question. And she must have had a double-digit lead until all this scrutiny came down. But in comes the soon-to-be former Governor Evers to pull Crowley out, who had dropped out before, and drags him across the finish line. Yeah. So that would have been panic time for Democrats.
Well, I think that the Democrats are coming to an uneasy coalition with the DSA. They mostly agree with the DSA, but they don't want the DSA picking the most psychotic candidates. They want them picking the second most psychotic candidate. So Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan, terror supporter, totally fine. Francesca Hong, bridge too far. Graham Plattner, totally fine until it turns out he's a little rapey. And at that point, then they decide, okay, well, we can't get on the full Graham Plattner bandwagon. And so what they're doing right now is sort of a further version of what we saw in 2020 when the Democratic Party activated to stop Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination, and then Joe Biden proceeded to ingest most of Bernie Sanders' platform and turn it into policy.
But what is happening in real time is Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi were both saying Flanagan should lose. We're going for the other candidate. And the other candidate, who is the lieutenant governor in the middle of this fraud scandal in Minnesota, that had the sitting governor say, I'm not running for re-election, and they still lost by 11 points. The establishment has no pull.
That's right. The establishment understands that all of the energy is with the psychotics in the party, and they have no systemic immunity to the psychotics in the party. And so the only question for them is, how do they negotiate the terms of their surrender? And again, the reason that Francesca Hong, who is the crazy person in Wisconsin, the reason she did not win is not because a bunch of Democrats mobilized in her favor. The reason she did not win is because Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and AOC did not endorse the psychotic in Wisconsin. So that was up to Bernie. He was the changing factor there, which means he's the one who's in the driver's seat.
I want you to hear Oliver Larkin, who's going against Jared Moskowitz next week. And Jared Moskowitz, by the way, a liberal.
Yes.
No doubt about it. He's not pro-Trump. He's not a moderate. He's a liberal. But he's being primaried like Dan Goldman's being primaried. So watch this.
I think that Israel should be a secular and democratic state with equal rights for all people, and the current configuration of the state of Israel is a religious supremacist one that privileges Jewish citizens above Palestinians. Israel has been rightfully attributed as committing a genocide and apartheid. If it were up to me, I do not think that we should be aiding and abetting a genocide by either providing taxpayer-funded weaponry or selling it.
Again,
this is a common refrain.
It is. I mean, all of that is lies. Obviously, 20% of Israel's citizenry is Arab and Palestinian. The Palestinians he's talking about are governed by the Palestinian Authority or by Hamas, whom they actually elected in the Gaza Strip back in 2005. And obviously, there was no genocide in the Gaza Strip by any stretch of the imagination. But this has become the talking point. And the reason that it has become the talking point is because every argument that the DSA makes about Israel is an argument they actually make about America. When they say that Israel is a settler colonialist state, what they mean is that the West is a settler colonialist regime. America is a settler colonialist state by the same exact argument. When they suggest that Israel committed a genocide in Gaza, they will say the same thing about America. America genocided the Native Americans. America is responsible for all of the genocides happening all over the world. They say all those things behind closed doors. The only question is whether they say those in public. And that's why Gaza has become such a litmus test for them. It's a thing happening 8,000 miles away in a way different from what they are saying is happening over there. But it's a litmus test because if you are willing to say the false thing over and over and over, then this gives you moral credibility points with the left that truly despises the West. This is the distinguishing factor of the DSA. It is this distinguishing factor of the far left. I think that when the right, when conservatives, when normies look at them and say, man, these people just hate capitalism, understand. It's not just that they hate capitalism. They despise America. That is the key feature. Abdullah al-Sayed despises America. Zoran Mamdani despises America. And Oliver Larkin despises America.
I wish I could put a counter argument out there, but there is none. If you just look at what they say and what they've said in the past and what they've deleted, there's no other conclusion you can make. Ben Shapiro, thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Meanwhile, straight ahead.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.